The stars above Novaterran were clear that night. Children played near the glowing ponds, laughing as their parents watched from the grass. The human colony had been peaceful for over 10 years. Built on a planet far from Earth, Novaterran was home to scientists, farmers, teachers, and families who simply wanted quiet lives. No one expected death to come from the sky at first. The colonists thought it was a meteor storm. Bright streaks lit up the night sky. But when the alarm towers started blaring and the sky turned red, they knew something was wrong. Huge ships broke through the cloud ships that didn't belong to humans. They were jagged, dark, and full of weapons. The invaders didn't send warnings. They didn't ask for surrender. They started firing at once. Explosions tore through homes. Fields burned. Escape pods were shot down before they could launch. People screamed, running to the bunkers, but most didn't make it. Towers collapsed and roads cracked open. The few defense drones the colony had were destroyed in seconds, within minutes. The colony was falling. In the command center, Commander Elias Stone tried to send a distress call to Earth, but the system was jammed. Only one old backup transmitter worked. He turned to a young officer beside him, a woman named Nora. "Get this footage to Earth," he said, handing her a small data chip. "No matter what, get it there." Nora didn't argue. She ran to the hangar, dodging flames and falling beams. She found an old scout ship, barely functional. She loaded the chip into the system and launched it just as the hangar collapsed behind her. The little ship jumped into deep space, vanishing into the stars. Behind her, Novaterran went silent. The next day, Earth received the footage. People across the planet watched in shock as the video played. They saw children running. They saw buildings explode. They saw the alien ships fire again and again. No mercy, no reason, no honor. The news called it the Novaterran Massacre. World leaders met in secret. For days, no one knew what they were planning. No official statement was made. Earth's skies were quiet, but under the surface, something had changed. In the silence of a dark underground base, General Miles Reinhardt stared at the footage again. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he stood and said, "We warned them. We tried peace. Now they'll learn we don't forget." The next morning, a small probe was launched. It was silent, fast, and hidden from sensors. Its destination was the center of the Galactic Council, a gathering of powerful alien empires who ruled the galaxy together. The probe carried a simple message, a single sentence: "We are coming. No mercy." The council laughed when they received it. They called humans emotional, weak, and dramatic. They believed the Novaterran colony was a threat to their borders, and they said the attack was justified. Humans were growing too fast, they claimed. The massacre was a lesson. But what the council didn't know was that Earth had been preparing. Earth had seen the warnings long ago. When humans entered space, they met many species. Most were kind, some were curious, but a few feared humanity's growth. Secret reports had warned about planned strikes. The attack on Novaterran only confirmed what Earth suspected. So while the council laughed, Earth activated its hidden forces. In cold space, black ships began to move. They had no names. They left no signals. Built in secret, powered by strange engines. They vanished into the dark. The galaxy didn't know these ships even existed. Deep underground, soldiers trained in silence. Satellite systems lit up, scanning space beyond known maps. Civilian fleets were quietly recalled. Scientists stopped their peaceful work and returned to military labs. On the surface, everything looked calm. But the human heart had changed. People who once believed in peace now whispered words of vengeance. Candles burned for the dead, but anger burned brighter. Everywhere from cities to farms, humans remembered Novaterran. In schools, children were told the story of the colony. Not just of the people who died, but of how they lived, how they dreamed, and how they were betrayed. No one spoke of forgiveness. Months passed. The galaxy moved on. Alien ships traded goods. Council members debated politics, and planets continued their daily life. They believed Earth would send protests, maybe sanctions. They thought humans would remain quiet after losing so many. They were wrong, because Earth hadn't gone silent out of fear. It had gone silent because it was preparing something terrible on the far edge of space, near the ruins of Nova Terran. A small outpost received a strange signal. It was faint but clear. The signal was human, but the design didn't match any known ship. The outpost tried to trace it. The next day, the outpost vanished. No explosion, no warning, no escape, just silence. That was the beginning. More outposts followed. Then a supply convoy disappeared. Then a listening station on a moon near Galen Prime stopped sending. Reports, panic began to spread. Ships were sent to investigate. Only debris was found: metal, torn like paper. Engines melted clean through. Survivors were rare. Those who lived spoke of black ships moving in complete silence. No lights, no heat. Just shadows that moved faster than sensors could track. They said the ships didn't fire normal weapons. They used something else, something that didn't make sense. The Galactic Council called emergency meetings. They still didn't want to believe Earth could be behind it. But more signals came. Some were intercepted. Others were broadcast openly. Each message was the same: we are coming, no mercy. On Earth, General Reinhardt stood before a screen that showed dozens of glowing dots, each a ship, each heading toward enemy space. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He only said one thing: Nova Terran is not forgotten. The probe carrying Earth's message flew in silence, hidden by deep space shadows. It arrived near the Galactic Council's main station, orbiting a bright blue star. The station was large and elegant, a floating symbol of unity, home to over 70 alien species and their leaders. For years it had been the center of peace talks, trade agreements, and laws that ruled the stars. The message from Earth reached the council chamber during a routine session. The translator screen lit up with a human voice, cold and clear. To the Galactic Council, the Nova Terran massacre will not be forgiven. Those responsible will face justice. Earth will not ask for peace. Earth will not beg. We are coming, no mercy. At first there was silence in the room. Then laughter broke out from several council members. Dramatic, as always said Governor Threx, a four-eyed ambassador from the Zakarn Empire. Humans speak with passion, but they are still new to the stars. Others nodded in agreement. Many saw Earth as young and full of emotion. Strong, yes, but not a threat to old empires like the Drell, the Machinari, or the Rothan clans. But a few members didn't laugh. Counselor Vela, from the quiet No-Merry people, frowned. I told you they were not to be taken lightly, she said. They are builders, survivors, and when they promise something, they do it. Still, most ignored her warning. Meanwhile, the galaxy returned to daily life. Traders filled the lanes. Merchants sold goods from one system to another. People spoke of the Nova Terran attack for a few days, then moved on. But in the outer systems, something strange was happening. A mining colony on the edge of space went silent. Rescue teams were sent. They found only burned ground and empty buildings. No life signs. Bodies. The word began to spread. Someone was striking back. Ships sent to investigate these disappearances found strange damage. Metal sliced without. Heat. Shields pierced by unknown force. Some debris held marked scorch lines in the shape of sharp triangles. No known human ships had such weapons, and yet the messages continued. We are coming, no mercy. The alien worlds began to worry. 1. Night. A popular galactic news channel aired secret footage taken by a patrol ship. The video showed a black object in deep space. The ship approached carefully. The object looked like a vessel, but had no windows, no lights, and no engines visible. As the patrol ship neared, the black shape turned. A single bright flash appeared. The patrol ship's feed ended there. Viewers across the galaxy sat in silence. On Earth, no official news was shared. Cities remained calm. People went to work and returned home. But behind the scenes, factories worked day and night. Secret shipyards launched vessels that vanished into the stars. The Earth Defense Command said nothing publicly. But in space, their actions spoke louder than words. They did not send diplomats. They sent hunters. General Haas Reinhardt stood inside a dark control room under the surface of Antarctica. He looked at a large star map. Red dots blinked on the edgeous locations of known alien attacks and Council supporters. Green dots moved like ghosts representing human ships now deployed. Each ship had a single purpose: strike and vanish. Are the Ghost-class units in position? The general asked. A young officer nodded. Yes, sir. Yes. 7 through 14 have arrived near Sector Arden. They await orders. Give the command, Reinhardt said. Soon after, 3 alien defense stations in Sector Arden went dark. Satellites failed. No distress signals made it out. Only silence. When a group of traders passed through days later, they found nothing left. Space where the stations once floated was now full of drifting metal and frozen. Gas. Fear began to rise. Alien empires that once mocked humanity now held emergency meetings. They demanded answers from the Council, but no one had any. And then came the real blow. A High Council military base near the galactic center, a place believed untouchable, was attacked. The base was heavily guarded with warships, defense satellites, elite soldiers, but none of it stopped the human fleet. They didn't arrive in numbers. Only 4 ships came, small, strange, and fast. The base didn't recognize the ship's designs. Warnings were issued, weapons locked on, but before any attack could begin, the human ships moved. They tore through the defenses like blades through water. Aliens watching from nearby planets saw flashes in the sky. Minutes later, the base exploded into blue fire. A single message was sent out just before it ended. Novaterran remembered. Mercy denied. The Council panicked. This is not war, shouted Ambassador Threx. This is madness. But others disagreed. No, said Councillor Vela. This is what they warned us about. You ignored them. Now they act. The Council tried to send peace envoys to Earth, but none returned. Some empires began withdrawing from the Council, afraid to be next. Others tried building stronger shields and hiring mercenaries, but it was too late. The black ships were already moving again, meanwhile. On Earth, General Reinhardt met with the world leaders in a deep chamber below the Atlantic. Leaders from every country sat at a round table, faces serious. We didn't start this, said the general. We asked for peace. They gave us fire. They thought we would cry and forget. But we will show them what happens when you hurt our people. No one spoke against him. Even leaders who once called for diplomacy now nodded. Humanity was united in grief, but also in purpose. Deep in a hidden mountain base, a young engineer named Mia worked on something special. Her project was a new kind of Cora silent energy source that could power the Ghost-class ships for decades. She had lost her brother on Novaterran. Now her hands moved with steady purpose. They thought we were weak, she whispered. Let them see how strong we become when we lose someone we love. Above her, in orbit, a massive ship finished its final test. It was larger than the Ghost-class ships. Stronger. It had no name yet. But everyone aboard knew its purpose. 2. Carry Earth's message to the heart of the enemy, as it left orbit and jumped into hyperspace. The crew looked back at Earth one last time. Their home, their reason, their fuel. They were not just soldiers. They were reminders, and they carried one truth with them across the stars: no mercy. In the outer rim of galactic space, whispers moved faster than light. Traders, pirates, and smugglers all repeated the same stories. The black ships were real, and they were unstoppable. Many didn't believe at first. Some thought the rumors were fear tricks, or that the Galactic Council had made up tales to get more control. But then the names of lost stations started growing. Not 1, not 5, dozens. No known weapon could stop these ships. They arrived without warning. Their engines made no sound. Their weapons had no heat trails. They did not jam signals they didn't need to. They left no survivors unless they chose to. But they always left a message. Novaterran remembered. Mercy denied. On the planet River, High Command of the Drail Empire met in secret. The Drail had been part of the coalition that destroyed Novaterran. They had sent 3 warships to the attack and now feared human revenge. General Krovik, a tall reptilian warrior, stood beside a large screen showing a map of Drail space. Blinking red lights marked locations that had already gone silent. "This is not a war," Krovik said. "This is punishment." Others in the room sat quietly. A few still doubted the danger. They pointed out that humans had fewer ships, less territory, and weaker allies. But Krovik knew better. "They don't fight like we do," he said. "They don't send warnings. They don't ask for surrender. They strike deep and disappear." "We're warned," one of his aides whispered. We laughed at their message. Outside the drill meeting hall, security forces prepared defense lines. Planetary shields were raised. Civilians were told not to panic, but panic had already begun. Meanwhile, in deep space, the human fleet moved through asteroid fields and solar winds. Inside one of the Ghost-class ships, Captain Leah Davis sat in her command chair. Eyes fixed on the screen ahead, her ship had no name, just a number, Ghost 9. They were near a mining moon used by the Machinari Empire, another group, responsible for the Novaterran attack. The Empire had hidden fuel supplies there, thinking it was safe. Leah's crew didn't speak much. They all knew why they were there. They had seen the footage. Many had lost family. "Prepare silent approach," she said quietly. The ship dimmed. All lights shut off. Engines switched to dark mode. It drifted like a piece of space rock hiding in the shadows. When they reached the moon, defense drones activated but too late. Ghost 9 fired a focused burst of pulse light strong enough to melt the shield generators. Then another shot destroyed the power core below the surface. Fire erupted from inside the moon. They didn't wait to confirm. They left as quickly as they came. On Earth, news of the successful strike was not broadcast. No one wanted to celebrate destruction, but in secret channels, the names of completed missions were shared. Families who had lost someone saw the names and nodded. Quietly, justice was being done. Back in Galactic Council space, meetings grew louder and more tense. Empires who had once ruled with pride now looked to Earth with fear. They sent messages asking for peace talks. They offered deals, trade, even apologies, but Earth didn't reply. General Reinhardt sat in a command bunker under the Pacific Ocean. He received every message but responded to none. "They didn't answer our calls," he said to his staff. "They turned their faces away when Novaterran burned. Now we turn away too." Some younger officers asked if this war would end soon. Reinhardt gave the same answer every time. "This isn't a war. It's a warning that will be remembered forever." One of the most powerful responses came from a neutral alien species called the Teleri. They had never attacked humans and had stayed out of the Novaterran event. They sent a private message to Earth. They offered safe zones, repair stations, even information about hidden enemy bases. Earth accepted but made one thing clear. They would not stop until every hand behind Novaterran was held accountable. The Teleri understood. Meanwhile, Captain Leah received new orders. She and her crew were to join 3 other Ghost-class ships for a larger mission. Strike a weapons facility inside a Drail-controlled asteroid belt. The base was heavily armed, known to produce the same bombs used on Novaterran. It was a dangerous task as the 4 ships approached. They spread out and slipped between the rocks. The asteroid field was thick, but Ghost-class ships were made for silent movement. Radar couldn't track them. Heat sensors picked up nothing. They watched the facility for a full hour. Then, in perfect timing, the ships attacked. One struck the shield array, another hit the control tower. The third cut power to the reactors. Leah's ship fired the final shot, a deep energy lance that drilled through the asteroid's core. Within minutes, the facility exploded from inside. The fireball lit up the field like a second sun. The ships disappeared again, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and another silent message on a drifting beacon. This was for the children of Novaterran news. Of the strike reached the Galactic Council quickly. Fear turned into disbelief. The Drow Empire's best defenses had fallen in minutes. A debate broke out. Some wanted to declare full war against Earth. Others begged for surrender talks. Counselor Vela stood again and said, "You asked what humans would do if we pushed them. Now you have your answer." Back on Earth, no one cheered. No one held parades, but in homes and schools, candles were lit for Nova Terran. And for every mission completed, a small bell rang in remembrance not of the war, but of the lives lost. General Reinhardt stood at his window, looking at the night sky. Stars blinked above him, silent and far. He whispered, "We didn't want to be feared. We wanted to be left in peace." He turned and faced the command screen, but now they'll remember. Why peace was the better choice. The galaxy was no longer laughing. One by one, systems that helped destroy Nova Terran were now silent. The war councils of great empires met behind closed doors. They whispered in fear, asked for maps, demanded new defenses, but nothing seemed enough. Because the black ships kept coming, fast, quiet, unseen. They struck at power stations, weapon factories, command hubs, and always disappeared before the alarms could finish ringing. No one knew how Earth had built these ships, their speed, their weapons, and their silence were beyond anything the Council had seen before. In a hidden base, deep under the sands of Mars, General Reinhardt stood before his main screen. Rows of red stars marked fallen enemy targets. Blue lights showed the Ghost-class ships, all still active, all still moving. "Sir," said one officer, "we received another offer from the Council. They request peace talks." "Again, deny it," Reinhardt said without looking away. "They're offering to pay, to apologize. They even offered to give us full access to their technology." Reinhardt finally turned around. His eyes were cold, tired, but steady. "They didn't offer anything when 10 million humans burned on Nova Terran," he said. They laughed. "Now, they can watch us bring justice." On the moon Europa, in a small base used for quiet strategy meetings for captains, sat around a dark table. Captain Leah Davis was one of them. Her face was calm, but her voice carried weight. "We've been given new orders," she said. "This time it's not just a strike. It's a message." The target was clear. A major galactic broadcast tower, deep in neutral space, used to share news across the galaxy. It was protected by dozens of small guard ships, sensors, and patrol drones. Destroying it wouldn't just silence the galaxy, it would show that Earth could reach anywhere, and that nowhere was safe for the guilty. The other captains nodded. They didn't ask how. They didn't doubt the plan. Every one of them had lost someone to the Nova Terran massacre before leaving. Each crew member took a quiet moment in the silence room, a small space with dim lights, where a photo of Nova Terran's fields was displayed on the wall. The children playing, the farmers smiling, the lakes shining under the stars. None of it existed now, but the memory did, and memories gave them strength. The 4 ships reached the broadcast tower after 2 days of silent travel. They hid in the shadow of an icy planet, their black holes blending with the dark space around them. Enemy patrols passed right by without noticing. "Final checks," Leah whispered. Her crew nodded, calm, focused. When the strike began, it was over in minutes. The first ship disabled the outer satellites. The second one broke through the drone control signal. The third cut the main power source. And Leah's ship finished it with one perfect strike to the heart of the tower. The explosion echoed in the silent vacuum of space, lighting the nearby rings of ice with sharp red flashes. The tower crumbled, piece by piece, and then drifted in silence before they left. They released a beacon into the airwaves. "This message is for the entire galaxy. Nova Terran was not forgotten. This is not war. This is remembrance. No mercy. For those who destroy the innocent." Millions heard it. The Council held another emergency session. Panic was now open. The attack on the broadcast tower had affected hundreds of systems. News channels went dark. Communication networks were broken. "They're not trying to rule us," one leader said. "They're showing they can reach us anytime they want." Counselor Vela stood and spoke again. They gave us warnings. They showed us peace. And we answered with death. Now they answer us the same way. But not everyone in the galaxy supported the Council. Many smaller planets, ones that had been forced to obey the Great Empires, began siding with Earth. A movement began to grow. Posters appeared across markets and streets with the words, "Earth remembers. Justice comes silently.
I know.
Mercy. Only balance." Some aliens wore human-made bracelets with a single name, Nova Terran. They had never been there, but they believed the story. Meanwhile, deep in space, a new human ship launched from an unseen dock near Neptune. It was different from the others, larger, shaped like a blade, and built with a core powered by a silent energy called Void Cell. Fusion. This ship had a name, Vengeance 1, captained by an older man named Russell Hart, who had once been a peaceful teacher on Nova Terran. He had lost his daughter there. Now he wore no uniform, only a pendant with her name. The crew of Vengeance 1 came from across Earth: pilots, engineers, scientists, and former colonists. None were chosen for rank. All were chosen for reason, the mission. Strike at the heart of the Drael Empire's central command. No more warnings, no more small attacks. Earth had one message left. When Vengeance 1 reached the edge of the Drael system, they found heavy defenses, dozens of warships, thousands of fighters, large orbital guns. Russell looked at the screen and said calmly, "You see their power? Now show them ours." Vengeance 1 activated a device called the Shadow Veil. Space slightly, making the ship almost invisible. As they approached, they began dropping small silent drones called Whisper Minds devices that stuck to enemy ships and disabled engines without explosions. Within minutes, the enemy ships began to spin, drift, and crash into each other. Then, Vengeance 1 fired the core beam. An energy pulse that passed through metal like water. The Drell command tower split in two. On nearby planets, people watched as the sky turned white for a moment, then dark again. A final beacon floated through. The system, carrying one sentence, "The past is remembered. And so is your part in it." Back on Earth, General Reinhardt received the mission report. He nodded once, then turned to a quiet map of the stars. "We're not here to rule," he whispered. "We're here to remind them that humans are not weak." The galaxy had changed. What started as a silent strike by Earth had become a storm that moved across the stars. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was quiet. The great empires that once ruled with pride now watched from behind, their shields hoping they would not be next. The name Nova Terran was no longer just a forgotten colony. It had become a word of fire, reason. A memory that walked behind every black ship. The final mission had begun. Deep in space, Captain Russell Hart stood aboard Vengeance 1. The crew around him was tired but strong. They had crossed sectors, defeated fleets, and sent Earth's message again and again. Now, they were heading toward the last target, the central hub of the Machinari Empire, the Mach. Nari had led the planning of the Nova Terran attack. They had sent the first strike. They had laughed the loudest when humans begged for peace. Now, their main world floated ahead, wrapped in layers of shields and guarded by a fleet of elite warships. But the crew of Vengeance 1 did not hesitate. "This is it," Russell said to his team. "Once this is done, the message will be complete." Number 1 asked questions. They all knew what they were doing. This was not about revenge anymore. It was about truth. And truth needed to be remembered. Vengeance 1 entered dark space mode and moved toward the enemy silently. Whisper Minds were launched ahead to blind sensors. Then, in a sharp move, they broke through the outer layer of defense using the core, beam slicing one of the Machinari guard ships clean in half. Within minutes, chaos spread. Enemy ships fired in all directions, confused and uncoordinated. Vengeance 1 danced through them like a shadow. The crew fired with perfect aim, hitting only weapons and command centers. They did not destroy cities. They did not harm civilians. This was justice. not destruction. Finally, the Machinery command station was in sight. Russell looked at the screen. His daughter's photo was taped to one corner. For her, he whispered, and for every soul lost. The final shot was fired. The command tower exploded silently, lights bursting in every color before vanishing into the black. A small beacon floated out from the ship, broadcasting Earth's final message: Nova Terran is not forgotten. This ends here. Let the galaxy remember. Humans may forgive, but never forget. Ever again. And with that, Vengeance One turned away and disappeared into deep space. The message was received across every star system on thousands of planets. People watched in silence. Some cried, some stood still, some dropped to their knees, others bowed their heads in respect. No one cheered, no one clapped, because the message wasn't a celebration, it was a reminder. On Earth, the leaders gathered in the quiet chamber beneath the oceans. General Reinhardt stood before them. He looked older now, more tired. But his voice was steady. The strikes are complete, he said. Every hand that helped destroy Nova Terran has now felt what they gave us. And what about the rest of the galaxy? One leader asked. They understand, Reinhardt said. We never wanted to rule. We wanted to live in peace, he asked. For it, we begged for it. They refused. Now, they have learned. A vote was made. Earth would pull back its fleets. The black ships would return. The Ghost-class units would go silent once again, but their existence would never be hidden. Because their story was the warning. A monument was built on the moon tall. Quiet, simple, it had no weapons. Only names. The names of the people who died on Nova Trin. And at the bottom a single line, we remember. We will always remember. The Galactic Council. Changes began. Many old powers lost their seats. New voices rose. Planets that had once stayed silent began to speak. They talked of justice, fairness, and peace, not because they were afraid of humans, but because they had seen what silence and cruelty could bring. Counselor Vela was chosen as the new head of the council. Her first speech was simple. Peace is not weakness, she said, and memory is not revenge. We must never forget Nova Terran, not to fear humans, but to understand them and to be better. Humanity did not send more warships. They sent teachers, builders, doctors. They helped the weak rebuild. They offered help to those who had been caught in the Council's old power games, but they kept one fleet in deep space, not to attack, not to conquer, only to watch, because the stars were wide and memory was long. One night, Captain Leah Davis walked alone on a small human base built on a peaceful moon. She looked up at the sky, thinking of all the missions, all the faces, and all the quiet goodbyes. A young child walked up to her, holding a small drawing. Is this your ship? The child asked. Leah smiled softly. It was a messy sketch of a black ship, flying through stars with the words written above. Thank you for remembering. She knelt down and nodded. Double quotes, yes, she said. That's one of ours. Are they coming? Back? The child asked. Leah looked up at the stars again. Only if they're needed, she said. I hope they never are. And with that, the story of Nova Terran passed into legend, not forgotten, not buried, but carried in every corner of the galaxy, and the message remained clear to all who traveled the stars. It's never harm the innocent. Never mock their cries, because Earth may sleep. But it never forgets, and when it rises, there'll be no mercy.